Hi folks, it's Ian again with my second hobby log. A few things this week. I tried a different mat for the table that I showed you last week, which is what's playing on the screen now. It's a mat from the Drowned Earth miniatures game, and I think it looks much better. It's water instead of swamp, but the sort of greens in it match the greens on the terrain that I painted, and the blue offsets everything quite nicely. So I thought I'd show you that again because I like it. And then I've got a little bit about how I did that green slime effect and a little bit about what miniatures I built, and then I'll show you what I finished painting this week. So this is the Osaki core box, which I said I was going to start painting. If you remember, I showed you the list last week. Well, this is the sprue that's inside the box. Anybody that's assembled Infinity miniatures before will know what I mean by fiddly. Malifaux miniatures are quite similar. There are a lot of little pieces on these sprues and they need cutting off carefully, and there are some that are just a little bit bonkers to put together. Anyway, so I'm going to have a crack at those and see where we get to. Now, one thing I've noticed about a couple of weird models is you do get gaps when you put them together, which isn't ideal. So I've tried to fill the gaps here in with green stuff. I think I might have left a bit too much on that one, but we'll see what it's like when it's got paint on. But I don't know whether it's me not carving the surfaces of the attachment points from the sprue down properly or what, but I have noticed on a couple of models there are gaps that you do need to fill. So I'm not sure what I'm going to paint next. Shang is I'm finding hugely intimidating, it has to be said. I'm rubbish at painting fire, and whenever I do it just looks pants. I don't use an airbrush because they're witchcraft. I'd rather layer paint lovingly on a model rather than spit it at it with an infernal machine, but that's just me. So yeah, that one's scaring me a bit. I'm not sure what I'm going to do with that. And a Toto, pretty straightforward really. So I'm not sure. I think I'm going to go with Osaki next and see where I get to with her. So a couple of people have asked about the bases that I do for these models, and also the slime effect that covered my terrain board. So I thought I'd just give that a quick run through how I've done it. For the wood on these actually start out life as coffee stirrers that I've just stuck on and cut out. Not very well, has to be said. And then this part is just some sand and some little chips of brick that are all glued on and then base coated, I think, with Zandri dust and then washed. And this area here, the wooden area, is coated with, painted with dark stone, Army Painter. That's dry now, so I'm just going to do the wood. And to do that, I'm just going to dry brush because it's ridiculously quick. And I'm using extremely expensive sets of makeup brushes, which I've got off Amazon for £4 for about 10, I think. So I'm going to start with some old, nearly dried up Doomball brown, just as the first sort of darker colour. There's very little in this part, which is why I can dip the whole brush in, and then do what we normally do when we dry brush, and that's wipe most of the paint off. And then these brushes are great for getting quite a fine effect. So let me just see if you can see that. You can. So literally a liberal scrubbing of that on there, just to start to bring out some of the detail. So that's that colour done. I'm just going to fold this bit of paper over. And the next colour I'm going to use is some Scrag Brown, again a GW paint, not much in this pot. Dip it in again, do the whole wipey off thing. If you use absorbent piece of paper for this, it actually dries the paint as well, which makes life easier. And then a slightly lighter pass of that, not over the whole thing, so we get some contrasting areas. And that's that done. So I'm just going to dip that in some water. I use a different brush for the lighter colours because I've found if you dry brush the light colours over some of these browns, it actually goes pink, which is not necessarily the colour we want on this one. So new bit of paper. I'm going to use Shabty Bone, one of my favourite GW colours, and this is going to go over the whole base now, because the stuff the bits of this base that I've done as the rocks also take this as the next coat. It is a bit wasteful on paint this. I don't usually do several bases at once, but so this is the last colour that I want for the wood, but the penultimate colour for the other area. You can see how easy it is with these brushes. It's an absolute doddle. Looks pretty good to me, and that'll do for my base. So the base pretty much dry now, because I didn't want any paint to run together. So now I'm going to do the slime effect. This is so cheaty and easy, it's ridiculous, and I think it looks ace. I recently found out that the guy who did this on the original Malifaux buildings, which is what I've tried to copy, was actually Angel Giraldez. My Spanish pronunciation is probably awful there, but he's an absolute favourite mini painter of mine, so there's no surprise that I liked that, really. But it was actually someone who commented on my last vlog video that pointed that out to me. Anyway, so it's really easy to do the way I do it, at least. It's just 4 different colours of green, and then all that smooshed over with some of this Games Workshop Tesseract glow stuff, transparency sort of contrasty paint, and the 4 greens I use is a really dark one. That's Black Forest Green from Scale Colour, my favourite evergreen Moot Green from GW, then a lighter full green from Scale Colour again, and then a Vallejo, sort of a fluorescent-y yellowy green, and it's all just stippling, so it's really, really easy to do. So first, to start with the dark one, I'll just put a white bit of paper under there just so we can see the paint a bit more easily. This is my special stippling brush. It's absolutely knackered, so it's really good for this sort of stuff. And then I just make a sort of rough general sort of pattern with the darkest colour. I'm going to paint the rims of this black, obviously, when I've finished, so it doesn't matter if we go over the edges a bit. So that's going to be the path that the slime takes. So that's the first colour. Then I'll go with the Moot Green. And again, it's literally just dipping the tips in, really. That goes on. Doesn't matter if it's not completely dry, because you get a little bit of mixing of the paint. Try and keep that further towards the centre than the dark blue. Get most of that off the brush. Then the 2 lighter greens. I love these Scale Colour paints. They're really matte and really thick. They're gel based, and I use them a lot these days. So again, starting to look a bit more slimy. That'll do. And then the very last one is this extremely bright lime green. That's far too much I've got out there, never mind, because I actually put very little of this on. So that's all the normal sort of paint put on there, and now I'm just going to dry that with a hairdryer. You don't need to hear that, so I'll stop for a sec. So I've dried the paint using a hairdryer. One of the most useful tools, I think. It just speeds everything up so much. And I've only shaken this paint a little bit because actually it's the sort of transparent carrier, not the actual paint particles itself, that make this work, I think. So rubbish old brush, and then actually just extending further than the dark paint that I used the first time, sort of just slap it on. I like to get a bit more in the recesses there, and then sort of spread it out so it thins a bit towards the edges. That sort of makes it look a bit more organic and a bit more natural over the rest. And as this dries, it actually becomes more translucent. So that's all there is to that, really. I'll go and dry it, and I'll paint the rim, and then I'll show you the result at the end. Here's the finished product. It's pretty much dry. I've painted the rim. All in all, probably about 3 minutes worth of actual painting. It's really, really quick and easy to do, and it looks pretty good, I reckon. When I finish painting this guy, that's where he's going to go. I'll cut him off his temporary base and then glue him on here with super glue, which you can do with these Malifaux minis because they're just plastic, so they're really light. Obviously with metal ones, I probably usually pin them to the bottom, but yeah, that's how I do the bases, and that's how I do the slime. So here's the stuff I've finished this week. This one's a bit of a cheat. It wasn't in my video from last week where I said what I was going to paint. I started this ages ago. It is another 10 Thunders mini for Malifaux, but I got distracted by making the table. So this is a Jorogumo. It's a huge plastic model, giant spider demon with great big choppy swordy things. I really like these models. Not done with an airbrush, all done with brush, and took a while. Pretty cool, I like it. He's also very orange. So that's him. I'm not going to leave him there because I cheated a bit because I did him weeks ago really, but just finished him off. Here are my Torokage, which I showed you on the box last week. Finished this one. Got sort of a weird backward looking stance. Love this one. This one's got a great big choppy, sticky, weapony, what's it? She's really cool. I really like her. And one more. This guy dropping in. Quite nice sculpt, that. Quite like that. He also very orange. There is a theme here. A Toto on the base that I showed you a moment ago. He's the guy who's a real beat stick. He's pretty hard. He has got a little face under there, but yeah, he's pretty cool. And then Boss Lady Misaki Takanaka. As Russell from Ultrium Gaming Club pointed out, the best way to avoid getting hurt by her is to walk into a room that's less than 8 foot by 8 foot, because there's no way she could swing that massive pole arm in that space. But pretty cool model anyway. And then the only thing I haven't finished is Shang, which is her totem that I told you about. And that's because I'm being a coward. I'm rubbish at painting fire. I need to do it. I need to give it a go. But yeah, I left him till last because I didn't want to tackle the fire. But yep, there's my paint from this week. Got through quite a few, quite pleased with that. Next week, I promise I will have finished Shang and probably a few other things as well. Have a good week.